If you try to remember, you will lose. Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. Put it into a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or creep or drip or crash. Be water, my friend. To learn to die is to be liberated from it. So when tomorrow comes, you must free your ambitious mind and learn the art of dying.
Welcome to another episode of Saturdays. I'd like to begin by saying that I apologize for any name that I pronounce incorrectly. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the strange death of Bruce Lee and the origin of the infamous Bruce Lee curse. Bruce Lee, whose birth name was Junfan Lee, was born November 27, 1940, in San Francisco, California. He was an actor, film director, martial artist instructor, and philosopher. I'm sure many people agree that Bruce Lee is one of the most influential martial artists of all time. Even after his passing, people still look up to him. He's a pop culture icon. Bruce Lee was born in America but raised in Hong Kong. When he was 18, he moved back to America to receive a higher education, and that's when he began to teach martial arts. He would appear in many huge films such as Fist of Fury, Way of the Dragon, Enter the Dragon, and Game of Death. Now, let's go back to the beginning because this is an important part of the story. Bruce's father, Lee Hoi Chuen, was an opera singer, and the reason why Bruce was introduced to the entertainment industry. Bruce's mother, Grace Ho, was the adopted daughter of Ho Kam Tong and the niece to Sir Robert Ho Tung, both notable Hong Kong businessmen and philanthropists. He and Grace had 5 children, and Bruce Lee was the 4th born of the 5. Both of Lee's parents were very superstitious. Before Lee was born, his parents had lost a son. They believed that if you called your son a male name, this meant that spirits might come and steal their souls. So for most of his youth, they called Bruce Little Phoenix, which is a girl's name in Chinese. Bruce himself was said to be haunted. He often had premonitions of his own death. He always said he would die at half the age his father died. His father was 64 when he died, and Bruce was 32. Bruce believed that his family was cursed because his father also died under strange circumstances. He believed that his son Brandon would also die young, and he did. On March 31st, 1993, on the 50th day of production, Brandon Lee was killed by a .44 caliber bullet while on the set of The Crow. He was only 28 years old. The scene was simple. One of 4 thugs would be chosen, and almost random that night. They would raise a Magnum 44 at his character as he entered through the front door carrying a bag of groceries. A single blank was to be fired, it would hit the shopping bag and release blood all over the actor, and he would tumble to the floor. But Brandon fell backwards after he was hit, and not forward as they had planned. It took a while before others on the set realized that something had gone terribly wrong. He lay there, on the apartment floor while first aid was frantically administered. Then he was rushed to the nearest hospital as soon as the ambulance could arrive. He underwent 12 hours of intermittent surgery and was pronounced dead at 1:03 p.m. the next day. Some say that the fragment of the dummy bullet used earlier in close-up shots was lodged in the barrel, and that the blank charge propelled the fragment into Lee's side, while others say that the prop department decided that instead of buying dummy bullets, they would make their own because they were running out of time. They were to remove the propellant from each individual bullet, but it turns out that they ended up mixing up live and dummy bullets. No video of this exists. It was purposely destroyed. There are many witnesses, including well-known actors and directors, and there was said to be about 50 witnesses. If you think that's strange, well, listen to this. Brandon's character and the Crow had a few similarities to his own personality. They both were shot and killed, and both engaged to be married. When Bruce died, he was in the middle of filming his last film, Game of Death. But after his passing, the script had to be modified. The movie became about an international martial artist and movie star. In one scene, a disguised assassin comes into the movie set and shoots him with what everyone believes is a prop gun. It's pretty eerie that later his son would pass away in a similar situation. On top of that, some people also believe that the Crow set was cursed itself. On the very first day of shooting, a worker was electrocuted by a high voltage wire. Later, a film employee crashed his car through the studio's plaster shop. Construction workers suffered injuries, and bad weather damaged many of the set pieces. One of the movie's publicists was injured in a minor car accident, and then there was Brandon's horrific death, a grim cap to the dramatic production process. Bruce Lee believed that the curse only affected males in his family. If this is true, then maybe that's why his daughter Shannon is still alive. On May 10th, 1973, Lee collapsed during an automated dialogue replacement session for Enter the Dragon at Golden Harvest in Hong Kong. Suffering from seizures and headaches, he was immediately rushed to Hong Kong Baptist Hospital. I think it's important to mention that several months prior to his death, Bruce was diagnosed with a cerebral edema. When Bruce Lee woke on the morning of July 20th, 1973, he was an active, healthy, 32-year-old. He and his wife spent the day meeting with producers for the next film he was hoping to make before heading home. But by the time the night fell, Bruce Lee would be dead. The circumstances remained somewhat of a mystery. On July 20th, 1973, Lee was in Hong Kong with actor George Lazenby, with whom he intended to make a film. According to Bruce's wife, Linda, Bruce met with producer Raymond Chow at 2 p.m. at his home to discuss the making of a film. They worked until 4 p.m. and then drove together to the home of Bruce's colleague, Betty Ting Pei, a Taiwanese actress. The three went over the script at Ting's home, and then Chow left to attend the dinner meeting. Later, Bruce complained of a headache, and he gave him an analgesic, which contained both aspirin and a tranquilizer, reprobamate. Around 7:30 p.m., he went to lie down for a nap. When Lee did not come home for dinner, producer Raymond Chow came to the apartment, but was unable to wake Lee up. A doctor was called, and he spent 10 minutes attempting to revive Lee before sending him in an ambulance to Queen Elizabeth Hospital. By the time the ambulance reached the hospital, Bruce was dead. He died at age 32. There were no visible injuries. However, according to autopsy reports, Bruce's brain was swollen to capacity from 1,400 to 1,575 grams. That's a 13% increase. The autopsy found the analgesic in his system. On October 15, 2005, Chow stated in an interview that Lee died from an allergic reaction to the tranquilizer metoclopramide, the main ingredient in the analgesic, which Chow described as an ingredient commonly used in painkillers. When doctors announced Lee's death officially, it was ruled death by misadventure. Unlike death by accident, death by misadventure implies that the death was primarily an accident, which occurred due to dangerous voluntary risk. There are a lot of theories surrounding Bruce's death. Rumors range from Lee being killed by Hong Kong gangsters because he refused to pay them protection money, which was something that was common with Chinese movie stars to do at the time. Some people claim Lee was cursed. It's just kind of ironic that a man that cared so much about his health and took care of his body, his temple, would pass away from something as simple as an aspirin. But I'll leave you guys with this. According to his wife Linda, he had no wish to live to a ripe old age because he couldn't stand the idea of losing his physical abilities. the ones he had strived so hard to achieve. He said, and I quote, "If I should die tomorrow, I will have no regrets. I did what I wanted to do. You can't expect more from life."
Water is the softest substance in the world, but yet it can penetrate the hardest rock or anything, granite, you name it. Water also is insubstantial. By that I mean you cannot grasp hold of it. You cannot punch it and hurt it. So every Kung Fu man is trying to do that, to be soft like water and flexible and adapt itself to the opponent.
It is February of 1965 in Los Angeles, California, where a 24-year-old Bruce Lee is in the midst of auditioning for a TV series that will never be made. In 19 months, he will be known to American audiences as Kato from The Green Hornet. In 5 years, he'll discover a truth that will forever alter the course of martial art history. And in 8 years, he'll be the most famous motion picture actor in the world. But that's all in the future. Today, he's unknown.
So as always, just please remember to like this video if you like this video, and I'll see you guys next Saturday.